Between 1996 and 1997, LEGO provided fans with the fourth and final faction from the original run of LEGO Pirates, that being the Imperial Armada, who represented 16th and 17th century Spanish conquistadors. This was LEGO's third time creating an Imperial faction, but unlike the Imperial Soldiers and the Imperial Guards, better known as the Blue Coats and Red Coats, the Armada were wildly different. While I love both the Soldiers and Guards, they share a very similar look. After all, the figures have the same design, minus the color, as the Soldiers switched the blue jackets out for red ones, and opted for blue epaulets, as opposed to red. Additionally, their forts share an identical color combination, with white and yellow, and hints of red brick here and there. While I love the look of these two Imperial factions, it was time for a change, and thankfully, the Armada provided just that. With green and red jackets, armor, and morions, as opposed to shakos, the Armada succeeded in bringing a new look to LEGO Pirates. Additionally, the lone location set, Armada-centric, released in 1996, had its own look, separating it from the other Imperial bases. Along with the Armada flagship, the stage had been set for the Armada to take over as the new faction that was at war with Roger Redbeard. But unfortunately, that never truly occurred, as no additional Armada ships or location sets were released in 1997, the final year of LEGO Pirates. Today, we will be discussing the wasted potential of LEGO's Imperial Armada, which could have been LEGO's best pirate faction. While pirates may be a theme that takes place on the high seas, location sets are equally as important. Whether it's a hideout for the pirates, a base or network of settlements for whatever Imperial presence is in charge, a landmass inhabited by islanders, or a remote island that contains hidden treasure, location sets were central to all aspects of LEGO Pirates. Without them, the property would be nothing more than a series of ships. And I know these builds not only elevated the play experience, but also the overall world of LEGO's pirate theme. When it comes to the wasted potential of this faction, the first point I want to bring up is the lack of location sets. Every other faction had multiple location builds except for the Armada, who were limited to the Armada-centric set. Don't get me wrong, it's a fine set, but this build serving as the sole location set is a travesty. LEGO could have easily provided fans with a solid fort/structure for the Armada, perhaps using a green, gray, and white color combination, like the one we see in the Century set. Or LEGO could have taken inspiration from real-life Spanish forts, like Castillo de San Marcos. Either way, there is no excuse for the lack of additional location sets. With a fresh design for the figures and a new Imperial color wave, a proper location set or two would have been a perfect way to highlight this faction that had already been successful in bringing something new to the table. Just a little bit more effort would have gone a long way for the property. But instead, LEGO's refusal to release any additional Armada builds leaves fans wondering what this theme could have been, even today, nearly 30 years after its release. Merriam-Webster defines an armada as a fleet of warships, and unfortunately, LEGO's Armada was not that. Included in this theme was the Armada flagship, quite an ironic name when you consider the fact there were only 284 pieces in this build. Don't get me wrong, this ship is great, but let's be real, it is not deserving of that name. Now, with the lack of location sets, it's apparent that LEGO was doing something a bit different with the Armada, but this difference did not have to be a bad thing, as LEGO could have instead embraced it and provided fans with a truly unique faction. Believe it or not, I would have been alright with one or two small location builds, if LEGO instead provided fans with additional ships for the Imperial Armada. They could have easily created another ship at a size similar to the flagship, and perhaps also blessed fans with a real flagship, maybe one around the size of the Black Sea's Barracuda or Skull's Eyes schooner. Maybe, just maybe, this theme could have seen the Imperial Armada go on the offensive, attacking the pirates' hideouts, or at least outnumbering them on the waters. While this is an amazing faction, most of the pirate sets that came out in 1996 and 1997 were a step down in quality from what LEGO had released earlier in the 90s. By creating more ships for the Armada, LEGO could have avoided putting out these worse sets, while also leaning into the fact that the Imperial Armada faction was something totally unique. This faction, if provided with a fleet, could have seen the Armada go up against other factions. If LEGO wanted to bring back another Imperial presence to take on the Spanish, that could have happened. Or what if LEGO wanted to release another location set for the Islanders? Instead of just relying on Captain Roger Redbeard and another pirate ship to carry the property, LEGO could have gotten a little bit more experimental. And who knows? A new age of pirates could have been ushered in. But unfortunately, we did not get a fleet, other than a quote-unquote warship, leaving an even more bitter taste in my mouth with the lack of location sets. As mentioned just a moment ago, the pirate sets put out in the last 2 years of the property were really nothing special or groundbreaking. The Redbeard Runner is not a revered ship by any means, and I think we can agree the location builds aren't anything special either. If you are enjoying this presentation on the wasted potential of LEGO's Imperial Armada and wish to learn more about this faction, then I suggest you check out my video, The Last LEGO Pirates Faction. It's a retrospective on the Armada, as well as the lore associated with these sets. The link will be posted below, as well as at the end of the video. Give it a watch. In many ways, the Imperial Armada faction was doomed from the start, as I would not be surprised if LEGO released this faction and these sets with the idea in mind that the LEGO Pirates property was on the way out. While this is understandable, with LEGO wrapping up both their evergreen space and castle properties around this time, I cannot help but ask why. Of course, as we all know, most LEGO themes come and go, but this faction redefined what a LEGO Pirates Imperial faction could be, with a completely new look for the minifigures, as well as a new color combination for location sets, one that was featured in the Armada-centric build. Even the Armada flagship, while not a proper flagship in my opinion, was a more than solid ship. LEGO put work into this faction with these designs, but never took advantage of it, as instead they chose to release subpar pirate builds, instead of ending the Pirates property with a bang, as all LEGO had to do was release a couple more location sets and/or a proper base, or live up to the Armada name, with additional ships. They were so close to doing just that, and if they had succeeded, I think we would live in a world where many might argue that the Armada are the greatest pirate faction to hit both the seas and store shelves. But instead, the Armada does not even feel like a proper faction, with how little LEGO did to build it out. Maybe, just maybe, that was always LEGO's goal. But regardless, its wasted potential is something that has, and will continue, to drive fans crazy for years to come. Pirate fans, I'd love to know down below what you think LEGO could have done with the Imperial Armada, a faction that could have been so much more.